All right. What's up, everybody? My people, Manhattan, the Bronx, Queens, all the Staten Island, my home borough, Brooklyn. Back at another video. This might be a long video. It's a video I've been planning to do for a long time. And this is going to be on the year 1996. And is 1996 the greatest year in the history of hip hop? When you look at all the legendary to great to very good albums that were released that year, to me, it probably is the best. We haven't had a year like this in a while. You can argue some other years were good. 1998. You could argue 2008, 2012. I thought was a pretty good year. 2018 was a very good year. 1996 is arguably the best. 1993 was another great year. 94. You had great years in hip hop history, but this year was probably the best out of all of them because I had so many up and coming artists released albums that got them some attention. You had legendary artists release projects, influential projects. But yeah, obviously it's 2021, so all this was 25 years ago. So just wanted to do this, but anyway, start off. I'm doing this in chronological order, by the way, from the day the album was released. And the first album that was released by a legend was Eazy-E, or it was posthumous release because, as we all know, Eazy-E passed away the year before, 1995, due to quote unquote AIDS. But I'm not gonna get into that. This was an album straight off the streets of motherfucking Compton. Release posted that, and I thought it was a very good project. Very good. It was a very good album, of course. Very good album, but is it on the level of these other ones I'm about to talk about? Probably not, but it was a very good album. A good way to start out the year. Now I was on to Mr. Tupac Shakur, who released the legendary double LP, All Eyes on Me. Had hit songs, such as the title track, All Eyes on Me, Scandalous, and other great joints. He had collaborations with Dr. Dre, California Love, Snoop Dogg, Nothing But a Gangsta Party. He collaborated with Method Man, and I believe Inspector Deck. All these other influential artists, and it was arguably the best album released that year. It's arguably Pac's best album. Arguably, some people say Me Against the World, and I can definitely understand that. I actually agree with that, but this is probably his most famous. This was his first. It's probably his most famous album. One of his most famous albums. Obviously, they titled the movie after it, and the movie was bullshit. But yeah, but again, that's another video. Now you have the Fugees, and they dropped The Score. Okay, obviously Fugees featuring Lauryn Hill, Wyclef Jean, and Prize. Lauryn Hill is probably the best pure rapper out of all of them. The best lyricist. She's arguably the greatest female rapper of all time. Probably the most influential. They released the album The Score, and they all released on the same day, by the way. This album was released on February 13th of 96, as was All Eyes on Me, as was the next one I'm about to get to. Now, this is a rapper named Mad Skills. Some of you probably know who he is, some of you probably don't, but he's from Virginia, and that's hence the title of his album, From Where? And it's funny, if you ever hear Mad Skills talk, he talks like he's from New York. And he talks like he's from New York. He talks like he's from Brooklyn or Uptown or Queens or something like that, but he's from Virginia, But then again, a lot of cats down there in Virginia have ties to New York. So that's why a lot of people down there in the quote-unquote DMV, DC, Maryland, Virginia, have kind of a mixture of Southern and New York accents, but if all you don't never listen to this project, this is a very good album. Okay, Skills, as got skills, no pun intended. He's a dope lyricist, bar for bar. You should check him out. Okay, now this is Busta Rhymes. He released his album, The Coming, one of my favorite Busta Rhymes albums of all time. Okay, and you have Master P. He released The Ice Cream Man, which is, look, Master P, Master P, as we all know, is not the best rapper. Okay, he's not the best rapper, He's only got a couple songs that are like real worth replay value. Maybe Bout It, and Make Him Say, but the features carried Master P through this. But obviously you see UGK, Silk, Mia X, Mr. Servon, True, his group. This is a good album. Mr. Ice Cream Man. Now, Too Short, my biatch, he released his album, Getting It. Album number 10. This is my favorite Too Short album. It's probably my most favorite actually, because it had a number of bangers on it. I believe this is the album that had the track The Ghetto on it, if I remember correctly. The Ghetto. He sampled that old song, that old funk song, soul song, whatever you want to call it. I believe that was on this album. Okay. Now you have my fellow Brooklynite Jay-Z, who released his debut album, Reasonable Doubt. One of Hov's best works, it was a mafioso album, helped carry on the mafioso rap legacy that was going on at the time. Rap renaissance was going on at the time. It was part of the East Coast renaissance that was going on at the time. Bar for bar. bar for bar, lyric for lyric, is probably Jay's best work. I mean, personally, I think that's the blueprint, but some people argue this is his best. That's perfectly fine. And of course, Nas released "It Was Written." When this is my and look, in my opinion, I've said this before. This to me is Nas' best project. I like this one over Illmatic. Illmatic, I say Illmatic is probably the greatest debut hit album in hip hop history, but "It Was Written" was arguably his best. Yeah, a little mixture of the conscious stuff with a mixture of the mafioso stuff. Street dreams are made of these. Everybody's looking for something. Then I gave you power. That's one of my favorite Nas songs of all time. I gave you power. That shit was fire. You obviously see the message, which people thought were subs at Tupac and Big. Black Girl Lost, Taking in Blood. Nas is coming, which Nas is coming. That could have been done better. And of course, Watch Them Niggas. Now on to UGK, who were, well, relatively unknown at the time outside of the region, Texas, but they released the album Riding Dirty, and this album, as most people probably know, it went gold with no video. They filmed no video for this shit, but damn, I'm trying to remember that song. Murder, that's the song. Pimp C and Bun B went in on that song, especially Bun B. Bun B killed that shit. If you ever heard Bun B's verse on Murder, if you haven't heard it, go listen to it. Bun B murdered this shit. So shout out to UGK. Outcasts released ATLiens, which is arguably their best project, and arguably, well, to me that's a Quimini, but it was arguably the best album released that year, the year 1996. Arguably, it's definitely probably the most influential, and ATLiens to me is probably the best album name in the history of hip hop. I mean, come on, I know he was kind of corny now, but at the time, it seemed very clever and very funny. Of course, I like the cover as well, kind of the comic book, the comic book style to it, invasion of the ATLiens. It kind of has that feel to it. And it's a dope album, Elevators, the title track, ATLiens, me and you, your mama and your cousin too, and two dope boys in the Cadillac. I love this. I love this album. Aquemini is their best to me, but no, this one, if you said this one was the best, I really wouldn't argue. Okay, Ghostface Killer released Iron Man. Following Raekwon's Only Built for Cuban Links and Method Man's Tights, whatever that album was called, I forget. Ghostface Killer released Iron Man. He has alter ego Tony Stark on. Excuse me. This was Only Built for Cuban Links was the best solo Wu-Tang project, but this one was right behind it. Ghostface went in. He had a couple tracks with Raekwon, of course, on it that were fire, so I definitely like this one. And of course, Tupac, or released another album under the alias Machiavelli. Don Illuminati, the 7-8 Theory. Of course, this was released in the aftermath of his passing. To Live and Die in L.A. Of course, he had the diss songs, Bombs Away, and damn, I forget the other one. For Against All Odds, that's what it was called. Against All Odds. We came for Jay, Lil Kim, Nas, Biggie, of course, Mobb Deep. This was definitely, and of course, Hail Mary. Lil Kim released Hardcore. After a year of being on Biggie's projects and Junior Mafia projects, she finally released her solo project, Hardcore. It had features from Jay-Z, was on this. I think Big was on this, if I remember correctly. But, yeah, Lil Kim's definitely one of the best female. She's probably on the Mount Rushmore of female MCs. Her, Lauryn Hill, MC Lyte. We can debate that another day. And of course, this is the introduction to strip hop, and I already did a video on that called The Rise of Strip Hop, but this is definitely that first introduction to that. Okay, Snoop Dogg released The Dogfather. Now, Snoop, I'm going to be honest with you. Snoop, he has, Snoop honestly has probably like a couple albums that are honestly worth the fuck. That's, of course, Doggy Style, which some people say the DOC wrote. I've never got any confirmation on that, but people say the DOC wrote that. You have this one. You have the first one with No Limit, and then RNG. Is that what it was called? RNG, the one with Drop It Like It's Hot on it. But Snoop, nothing against Snoop, but he's kind of overrated, just a little. I know a lot of people aren't gonna like that, but he's a little overrated. Okay. He has some. Of course, he has some bangers. But a little overrated, just a little. Okay, you have Foxy Brown, who released El Nana. Foxy Brown. I don't know what the hell happened to her. She kind of like disappeared. but Il Na Na. And Mobb Deep, probably one of my favorite rap duos, rap groups of all time, released Hell on Earth. You know, Mobb Deep was the shit back in the 90s, man. You know, the infamous Hell on Earth, murder music. Like Mobb Deep, they're to me kind of very underrated. You know, they're very underrated, and then on this one, you had, of course, the diss track, Drop a Gem on them, which they fired at Pac, you know. They made references to Pac getting raped in prison, which started by Wendy Williams. And then, you know, that song with Nas, it's escaping my mind right now. And then G.O.D., Father Part 3, when they sampled Scarface, you know. All the East Coast niggas love Scarface, man. All these niggas love Scarface, period. But, you know, especially Mobb Deep and Nas. Okay, 3-6 Mafia. They released Chapter 1, The End. You know, 3-6 Mafia was still kind of underground at the time. Weren't really known. Kind of like UGK and some other people on this. Mad Skills were very underground, very underrated at the time. But The End, you know, was one of their best projects. You know, of course, they had the single, you know, Late Night Tip, Walk Into His House. Disregard that. I'm going to get to that in a minute. Shout out to Brother Quan 144. Shit, I lost my train of thought. Destruction, Terror. No, they had a lot of bangers on this shit. Go listen to it if you haven't. Okay? And you have Redman, probably one of the most underrated rappers of all time. Redman, you know. Redman, I always kind of get happy when Eminem shouts out Redman because it's like Redman's kind of very underrated. Like his first 3 projects were all dope. I think they all went gold. Muddy Waters, people say this is his best project. To me, I like this first one better. But, you know, Muddy Waters was definitely a underrated album, a very influential album. Okay. Anyway, that's gonna be it for this video. 1996 is arguably the greatest year in the history of hip hop. If there's some albums that you guys think I missed, please first of all fact check before you get in my comment section trying to talk some shit. Okay, fact check and then drop it down below. What do you think? Was 98 better? Was 98 a better year? Was 08 a better year? Was 92, 93, 94? What year do you think was better? Comment down below. I'll probably do a video on it, all right? But I'm going to see y'all.